I'm Bridget A. from Drunk Dog Creative, and today I'm going to do a tutorial on a fun fold card, but I'm going to feature the Fright Night Stamp and Die bundle from Stampin' Up. This is a fantastic bundle for Halloween cards. Now, I know I'm in Australia, and Halloween has not really been a thing here, although it's starting to become one. But for those of you who've been following me for a while, you know I have family and friends in the United States where I'm originally from. So I do Halloween cards for my grandkids, my daughter, some other family members, some friends, and I love this bundle. So you get these fabulous stamps that make backgrounds and a couple of sentiments, and there's a coordinating die set that do more than just coordinate. So you have two dies that cut out these two different tag type stamps. You have a die here that will put a little hole in it to put a string through. This coordinates with the three sentiments. And then you've got some extras. So you've got these spiderweb dies and the spider die and these words eek and boo. And there's so much you can do with this. And what I did is I designed it into a tower fun fold, which is what I'm going to teach you today. But not just for Halloween. I've got a sample that's for non-Halloween as well, so that you can see how this fun fold can be used. So let me show you the card. This is a card that comes with four sides. This is the Halloween one. You can see the spiders and the web and the eek, which is glow-in-the-dark paper. Anyways, this has four layouts, including a little pocket with a tag I can pull out and write their names, and different things. So I'm going to talk about this one in a minute, but before I get into any of the others, I want to show you another type of card so you can see that this is not just a design for Halloween. So this card on the front side says, "So thankful for you." Oop, there's a little something there. And I've just used some designer series paper, some florals from some other die sets. This is painted lavender. This is just a flower that was already made in my stash. This is from the Beautiful Butterflies stamp set that's currently out. And you can see that there's, again, all the different pages. I've used some little embellishments, a little saying. And then this is the one where you can pull out and write something or put a gift card in there. Again, some flowers that I had made ages ago that were in my stash, some butterflies from the butterfly set, some brass butterfly self-adhesive, and just another now discontinued stamp. Oh no, this one's still going. So it's not discontinued yet. I'll have the names of all of these in the subtitles below. But again, I just wanted to show you that you can do something that isn't Halloween. Now, this is how this card works. It's a tower with four sides that can stand up and be open. So it's self-standing. It looks complicated, but it's actually really easy to do. And I'll give you some tips to make sure that if you embellish and it hangs over the edge, there's only two sides you can do that on, because you don't want it to hang out there or out there, because then it's too big for the envelope. Anyways, I will be demonstrating that in a few minutes. One of the neat things about these tags, so this one I actually did with Versamark, and then I used a brush to brush some, like a dust over it that then sticks to the Versamark and gives it that kind of, so it's not embossed, it's different, but you can also do that with embossing. But the really cool thing is this gravestone was made using this tag. So I stamped it, and then I used the die to cut it out so that it has a border around it, and then I just cut it in half. And instead of a tag, it's a tombstone with some feathers and birds that were in my stash. And I just used the new 1 7/8 inch circle punch, or one of my circle punches, with this glow-in-the-dark paper to make a moon. You could just use white or very vanilla. So that is the Tower. I'm having fun with this. That's the Tower Halloween card. And basically, you can make these in any color scheme. You can see that I embossed the papers on most of the papers on the short side. I embossed them for a bit of extra oomph with different embossing folders, or you can use DSP, either just on that side panel or on both to create the image you want. And then you can just embellish this with absolutely anything you have in your stash that fits whatever theme you want. This card is going to my daughter in America, who I really miss. That way, far away and close at heart. I really miss her a lot. And so I send her and my grandkids cards every month to encourage them. This one's just a little extra one because she's pregnant at the moment with another child, and some days are really hard with toddlers and a pregnancy. So there you go. That's enough of showing that off. Let's get stuck into how to actually make the tower. Nowhere near as hard as it looks. It's really simple. So I'll be right back to show you how. So let's talk about the cut plan for this card. It's much simpler to make than it looks. Let me go through the basics, and then I'm going to explain a couple of nuances with the matting. So the first thing you need is your tower, the piece that will become your tower, which is 105 millimeters by 105 millimeters. And then I've used black because for the Halloween card, it's black. I used, Pretty Peacock for this one, whatever your base color is. Then you need 4 panels in the same color, and these panels are 74 millimeters wide by 105 millimeters tall, and there's 4 of those. So 1 for the tower, 4 for the main panels in your base cardstock, which for me is black for this card. Then you need your decorative panels. Now, for this one, I used Designer Series paper, or DSP, instead of cardstock. I had no rhyme or reason to how I placed them. I just cut out the ones that I liked, and then I spent time figuring out which 3 go together without clashing or duplicating. I know those 2 look similar, but they're different. So there is no rhyme or reason. You can play with it and do it any way you want. I recommend figuring out your pattern of where you're placing them before you glue them down, so that you don't get like 3 of the same unless that's the look you want, or 2 of the same unless that's the look you want. So you can see I used DSP there. For this one, I've used cardstock and I've embossed some of the pieces, but not all of them. So that's another option for either side, is embossing. But what I've done, I've used 3 colors of DSP. I've used Gorgeous Grape, I've used Lemon Lime Twist, and I've used Pumpkin Pie. So using 3 colors, it took a little while to work out how to make sure none of them doubled up and they all went okay together. So I'm going to give you that plan if you want to recreate something like this. Oh, I've got glue there. In the 3 colors. I'll tell you how many panels of each and where to place them. Then, of course, for this one, I haven't decorated this one yet, but I thought it was important to show it to you. For this one, I've used 4 colors. This is much more logical and intuitive than the other 2 cards, because for 4 colors or 4 patterns of DSP, you simply cut 1 panel of the bigger panel and 1 panel of the smaller panel. That's it, 1 of each. And then you lay them so that whatever color is on this main middle panel goes on the back to become the left panel, and that way none of the colors double up and they're all evenly distributed. Why didn't I do this for the first card? Because I didn't think the Timid Tiger went as well with the other 3. 24 hours later, I'm absolutely loving it and going to make the rest of the Halloween cards with all 4 colors. So sometimes if something's not working, it's good to just walk away for a little while, because you may like it later on. Same with when I develop backgrounds or cards I don't like, I put them away for a while because sometimes I like them better. In any case, you need 4 panels that are 69 millimeters wide by 100 millimeters tall, and 4 panels that are 44 millimeters wide by 100 millimeters tall. Of course, you don't have to use a mat. You can just use the background and decorate it. You could use this as a mat and put another panel on it in a different color, or white, or a neutral. How you decorate this tower is completely up to you. But I'm going to give you the hint for how to place them if you're using only 3 colors. You can skip this part, or you can listen. So what I did is I cut 2 panels of 69 by 100 in the lemon lime twist, and that's it. For the other 2 colors, for pumpkin pie, I did 1 of the larger panels, 69 by 100, and 2 of the smaller panels that are 44 by 100. Same for the gorgeous gray. 1 panel in the larger size, 2 panels in the smaller size. And what you do is when you put your tower up, 2 opposing arms, the back of one and the front of the other, need to have the 2 matching large panels that have no small panels. So they go, if you can see it, there. That way, there's no color double ups at all. And as you can see, I have orange here. Orange goes on the back. Green here. Again, the orange goes on the back. Purple here. Purple goes on the back. The second green, purple goes on the back. So if you're looking at it from the top, I have the 2 purples here, and the 2 oranges here, and the 2 greens here, and the purple and the orange at opposite sides. And this is just a very logical way to make sure every trio don't duplicate each other, like don't have the same color next to each other. I know that's confusing. I'm going to have this all written out on the blog at drunkdogcreative.com. So if you go there, all of the cut plan for imperial and metric, all of these detailed instructions are all on there. So if you're not following on the video, just go to the website and look up this tutorial, which is the Tower Fun Fold Halloween card. And I promise you it will all be written there so you can refer back to it over and over again. drunkdogcreative.com. All right. So now we've got all our pieces cut. Let's look at assembling it. I promise you this tower is easier to put together than you think it is. The first thing we're going to do is take our Stampin' Up! Paper trimmer or any scoreboard that you've got. We're going to put the cutting blade right out of the way, because ask me how many times I've accidentally cut something instead of scoring something. So my rule of thumb is to always return the cutting blade to the bottom and the scoring blade at the top so I don't mix them up. Create whatever rule works for you. I'm going to score this 105 by 105 millimeter piece at 25 centimeter intervals. So the first score is going to be at 25 millimeters. Sorry, I hope I said millimeters before and not centimeters. The next one is at 50 millimeters. The next one is at 75 millimeters. And the final one is at 100 millimeters, which leaves that tiny little 5 millimeter edge, which is very important. So once that's scored, I can then put my little paper trimmer away, and that should now have 4 panels with one being very tiny. I'm going to take my bone folder. You can see how loved and worn it is. And I'm going to fold each, I'm going to fold each of these folds and just run over them with the bone folder to sharpen them. That's done. Now, I need to put tape, glue tape or glue on this very thin 5 millimeter piece. Now, if you use glue, you're going to have to wait till it dries before you start building the tower. So I like to use tape, but my Stampin' Seal is wider than 5 millimeters. So there is a trick to this, where if you take a scrap piece of paper, and I should have used one that's a different color, sorry. You take a scrap piece of paper and you put it under it, or you do this on your grid paper, which is an even better idea. Hang on one second. You take your grid paper, which I should have been using, and your Stampin' Seal, and you make sure you only run it on that edge. You do not want this, I don't know if you can see this, you do not want this going over that crease line. You just want it on the edge. When you pull it away from the scrap paper under it, it should pull away. If it doesn't and it's still attached, just use your finger to pull it toward you so that it sits on top of the other seal. Anyways, we've got our Stampin' Seal right on the edge. Then we're going to fold it over just at that very first fold so that this one is flat, not folded. And we're going to fold this right fold over it and press it so it seals. See that? And that should all be nice and even with no like bubbling or crinkling or movement. So make sure it's really even. Then what you've got is a square tower. And that forms the column that creates the structure for the card. It's that simple. So there's your tower. So now, how do we put our 4 panels on it? Well, that's also simple. Take your Stampin' Seal or glue. Now, if you're not good at lining things up and getting it right the first time, don't use your Stampin' Seal, use your glue. Because with glue, you have wiggle room to play with it and line it up right. With Stampin' Seal, you really don't. Once it's down, sorry about that. Once it's down, it's down. I'm pretty good at this, and my grid paper also helps me line up. So I'm just going to put a couple strips on there. This first one is crucial. Where you want this is aligned to the top and bottom, but microscopically to the right of the crease so that the fold still works, but microscopically. I might try to zoom in on this so that you can see how that is aligned top and bottom without being angled, but still allows, and test it by moving it, still allows your card to open. Now, so that's your first panel done. Then you're going to so then you're going to flip this over and you're going to do the next panel, again, right side. So some Stampin' Seal. And again, align this to the top and bottom and get it right next to the crease, but not exactly covering the crease so that the fold still bends. So then, if you pop it up, you've got your 2 opposite arms. So then the next thing to do is move to the left. And again, line it top and bottom and align it right to the edge of that crease, but still allowing that crease to work. Now you've got 3 arms. Flip it over again and do the last panel. So now you have your structure for your card. There's all 4 panels, and you've got your tower fun fold that just keeps rotating like that. So now let's talk about decorating your base. This is where you can have fun. You can use cardstock as backgrounds or DSP as backgrounds. You can use die cuts, you can use stamps, you can use sentiments, you can use adhesive gems, anything you want to decorate this. What I've included in both cards is a little pocket and a little tag to pull out and write a message on. But you could also just use these as mats and put another piece of neutral colored cardstock and write a message right on the panel. You can stamp things on the panels. You can do whatever you want at this stage. I'm going to talk you through placement of the panels for a 3-color card. I've already talked about the 4-color placement or the random, and I'm going to talk to you about how to deal with hangover, things that you might want to extend over. But also on these cards, at the very end of the video, I'm going to demonstrate how to make a pocket, which can be used either for your card for your greeting or for gift cards. You could have them on every panel, and you can either make them plain and decorate them, or let the designer series paper stand for itself. You can do these any way you want, but I am going to add some bonus stuff at near the end of the video for how to make this a card pocket like this. This little tag I cut with the, let me check, the Nested Essentials die set, which is still available from Stampin' Up. I also used this die set for this background to the trick or treat. I thought it looked a little bit coffin-y. Sorry, like a coffin. So I thought it was kind of cute for Halloween. This is a fabulous die set. I use it so often for everything. They have a few different types of nested die sets. Really worthwhile. The other thing I use all the time, even though I'm really good at color theory, is the color wheel, which helped me figure out some of these colors. It will tell you what's complementary. So you center your color and it'll tell you the colors on either side from Stampin' Up that go with it. If you put this little line on Poppy Parade, the triadic will show you which 3, like kind of not opposite, but it's a trio of colors that work together. So Poppy Parade goes great with Azure Afternoon and Very Vanilla. There's also complementary. So if you center, say I center Real Red on this, then I know across here, these are the 3-ish colors that are opposite it, so they go well together. They also have the analogous, which means anything that's in that range should still all go together. And the monochromatic. So if you want to keep to a single kind of color scheme, then those 3 or 4 give you that monochromatic look while still giving you some variation. This thing is phenomenal. This is the neutrals on the back. This is amazing. All the Stampin' Up colors, the standard colors in the neutrals. It's just brilliant. Anyways, let's move on to actually decorating our card. One of the things I did is I went and embossed my 4 small panels just to add a bit of interest. That's another option for you. But we're going to just put these on, and I'm going to explain where they go. I think I already did that a little bit in the beginning, but you're going to want to glue or tape, depending on how confident you are at getting things placed correctly the first time. If you're doing a 3-color card, you want to make sure your lime or the whatever color you have you have 2 big panels of are opposite each other. So just flip it over. Center it, and then you can move one over and you put the 2 that you have 1 color of each. And they should be opposite each other. And at this point, it doesn't matter which one is where, because where they are will determine where the smaller ones go. So flip it over to make sure you don't end up with 2 colors the same on one side. So then you've got a tower with your lime green at the back and at the front of opposite arms. And then you've got your purple and your orange at the back and at the front of opposite arms. Got that? So green, orange, orange, green, green, purple, purple, green. So then you have to do the placement of the smaller ones. And I'm going to start with the big orange. I'm going to flip that over and put one of the oranges right there, right behind it. And then I'm going to flip to the next page and I'm going to do the orange again. So kind of two in a row. And then you flip it again and you do one of the purple ones. Or gorgeous grape, I should be calling it. Flip again and do your last gorgeous grape or purple. Oh, okay, I will fix that. Luckily it's the back. I have never done that before, not once. How weird. Okay. So now you have your foundation where each one has a different trio combination and they don't double each other up. You seeing that? All right, there's your basic tower done. Now how you embellish it, completely up to you. You can emboss, not emboss. You can add bits from the Fright Night set, bits from your stash. I'm a big believer in using what you've got. As much as I love Stampin' Up! Products, and the new stuff I buy is almost always from them, I still have other stuff from before Stampin' Up! And I believe in using it. But this particular Fright Night set, like I showed you at the beginning, is pretty awesome. Like I said, you can stamp this one, die cut it with the larger tag die, cut it in half, and you've got a tombstone. This one, which is this one, makes a fabulous embellishment, no matter how you do it. So you can stamp. I think, as I said in the beginning, I used Versamark and then I ran over it with a brush lightly dipped in perfect pearls in this sort of coppery color, which gives it that very muted background look. But you could stamp that in Versamark and use embossing powder in any of the metallics. So we have a trio of embossing powders in silver, gold, and kind of a coppery bronze, or in white, black, and clear. So you could do that in white, you could do it in the bronze, you could do it in gold or silver with embossing powder. You could use a different color background and use any of the inks. So you could do this, cut out the label in white or very vanilla or basic beige and stamp on it in the gorgeous grape or in black. Like, there's so many things you can do to embellish it, and I'm not going to embellish this card on camera because I really want you to use your own imagination for what you do with this basic card structure. But the only thing I am going to talk about is these labels. So here's an envelope. In Australia, we call this a C6 envelope, and it should fit an A6 card or paper. These are metrics. In America, I don't know what your envelope size is called, but your cards are called A2, which is entirely different to an Australian A2, which is roughly twice the size of my Stampin' Pad grid. It's huge. So maybe actually 4 times the size. No, twice the size. Anyways, it doesn't matter. Whichever card size you're making, you want your card to fit inside your envelope, which it does, right? But if I have things hanging over like this, or like this, or like the bird, if it hangs outside the card frame, it won't work. I got away with the bird though. So if this is hanging out here and that's hanging out there, it's not going to fit at all in the envelope. So if you're going to place things that hang over, you have to do it so that they don't hang over this edge. So obviously I've messed up with the bird and I'm going to have to move it over a little because it is sticking out a tiny bit. And that'll be interesting. I think I can get away with it because of the allowances of our envelopes. But the idea is anything sticking over the edge has to be on that panel or that panel only. And those panels are the ones that will face up when you put it into the envelope so that this doesn't stick over. If I wanted this to face up, be the first thing people see when they open it, I'm not going to get this into the envelope because of my things hanging over. So I need to put it in the envelope this way or this way. So when you're designing your panels and you're using sentiments or you're using embellishments that hang over, you have to be a little bit careful about the envelope. So if I want that to be the front, I'm not going to get it in my envelope, which means that has to be either the front or the back panel in order, thankfully it's the front panel, to get in the envelope. Like that. So when you're designing your decorations, designate which is your front and which is your back. They are the only two that you can have things hang off. The other two, you cannot have it hanging off if you want it to go in an envelope and not get crushed like that. So designate when you're decorating. Do I want that? Do I want that? All right, I've decided that's my front panel. It's not a bad idea to take a little pencil and just put a dot on it so you know that's your front panel. That can have things that hang over. And that's my back panel, and it can have things that hang over. But these two panels cannot. So if you just put a little pencil dot that you can erase later, or a little bit of, removable tape, like sticky notes or mint tape or something, just something so you know that's the front and that's the back of my card. That's where I can have things hang over. That's how you do that. But that's basically how you create a tower card very easily that still fits in a normal envelope that you can make for any occasion, decorate any way you want. I really think if you're doing Halloween cards, you can't go past this bundle of stamps and dies, and the website will be in the subtitles for how to order if you're in Australia. If you're in a different country, please go to the Stampin' Up! Website in your country and try to find a demonstrator near you. If you want full information on how to make these cards, including the cut plans in metrics and imperial, including all the tips and tricks in writing and in photos, go to my website, drunkdogcreative.com, and it'll all be there. And if you hang around for the bonus, I'm going to teach you how to make the little pocket for your little cards. Thank you and happy inking. Right. Welcome back. This is the bonus video for how to make a little card pouch for either a little note or for a gift card or money for your cards. For your pouch, you don't want thick cardstock if possible. You want something that easily folds and doesn't add too much weight. So I'm just using a piece of designer series paper, and I'm using gray because I'm making Halloween cards at the moment and it looks kind of tombstoney or graveyardy, but you can use anything you want. And you're going to cut this at 150 centimeters tall and 85 centimeters wide. And then you're going to score it at 10 millimeters on each side. So I've got my paper trimmer from Stampin' Up. I've got my cutting blade out of the way at the bottom so I don't mistake it with my scoring blade. Ask me how many times I've done that. One of the things I like about this trimmer is that it has some numbers, metric and imperial, on the right side. So you can line up to the right side as well as to the left. And since I want to do 1 millimeter, I'm going to line it up to the 1 millimeter mark on the right. And I'm going to close the gate and I'm just going to score along that 1 centimeter, 10 millimeter line. And I'm going to flip it over and do exactly the same on the other side and score along that line. So I've got a 10 millimeter score there and a 10 millimeter there. Then I'm going to line it up on the left to 68 millimeters. I know that sounds like an odd number, but I've worked out it's visually kind of the nicest. So 68 millimeters, and you're going to score along there as well. Then you can put your paper trimmer away. And the next thing you're going to do is on the longer side, on the 68 millimeter side, you want to actually cut out, and gray was probably the wrong color to choose for video, along that score line and along that score line, really a little bit below that score line and a little bit inside that score line. Now, you can either do that with scissors and fussy cut, or I can bring my trimmer back and do it with the trimmer because I can stop. The trimming blade has a line here, so you can line up with where you need to stop trimming. So making sure I'm cutting out on the long side of the card, the 68 millimeter side, I'm going to line that score line right up to the groove. I'm going to drop my gate, and I'm going to just carefully draw this along until this line lines up with this score line, or just a millimeter below it. And that's done that cut. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side, but I'm going to hold this until, I'm going to hold this up a little. I'm going to make sure that this score line is right in that groove. I'm going to hold this up a little until that line lines up with the middle score line, and then I'm going to press it down, and I'm going to cut along there. That's how easy that is. And then you can either do the same there, or because it's such a tiny cut, I can just go slightly there and there. And so you can see I cut just to the bottom of that score line and just inside that score line, because you want to be able to fold these bits around that in a minute. So that's your basic shape you should have. I'm going to fold this up. Now you can leave it squared, or you can take any corner rounder that you have or any notch maker that you have, and on this long side where you've just cut those pieces out, you're going to round the corners. This is completely optional, of course. You're going to round those corners. Then you're going to take your notcher and you're going to center this this is the short end, so opposite of where you've just rounded the corners. You're going to center this and just cut a little notch out of that piece. And then take this away. Sorry, I've got glue on here, so that's a bit sticky. The other thing you can do if you don't have a notcher is you can take any circle punch of whatever size you want. My Stampin' Up! Ones are all bigger than this circle, but you can see what I've done here. So this is another one I've made, is you just put it, if you turn a punch over, you can see that piece is still in there. You can actually, where's a scrap piece of paper I can show this on? Give me 1 second. Sorry, let me just get some paper. If you put your paper into your punches upside down, you can see where the hole is, and you can put it at about the halfway mark and just take half a punch to create a rounded notch, which is what this little, I don't know if you can see it because of the contrast of the paper, but see how that's a rounded notch? That can be created with any circle punch, or you can use a notcher if you have one, anything basically. Then what you want to do is fold on those lines with and just lightly score it. It doesn't have to be scored a lot. Just lightly score on those fold lines. And this is the easy part. Flip this up, put a bit of Stampin' Seal or glue along those edges, and fold them over and press them down. And if it bubbles up, it's probably because you didn't cut to the inside of the line enough. But there you've got a little pouch, and then you can simply put glue or tape on here and glue it onto your card base. You can cut out a little tag to write on to slip in. This was done with the Nested Essentials dies, but you can just cut a piece and use your corner rounder or leave it square. You can also use that for gift cards or money. Because my family, some of my grandchildren and one of my daughters lives in the US, where I'm originally from, every month I send my grandchildren a card and tuck a little money in. And sometimes I even send my daughter and son-in-law a card with a little bit of cash for Starbucks. I go to the local currency exchange and get US dollars. It's a way of staying in touch with them when they're so far away. I'm in Australia on the opposite side of the world, and it kills me. And you can see I didn't get that quite centered, but you know what? I'm learning to let go of these things and not be so perfectionistic. But there's your little pouch to put on any card, to put anything in it. It's that simple. Happy inking, everybody.